Assalamualaikum everyone. I'm Mukaddas Education Wali and I'm a student in Rehan School Foundation course batch 2. Today I will be asking some questions from Maya on the topic of food from basic need to culture icon. So let's get started.
Hey there.
Hi, so I'm going to ask you a question based on food, right? So let's get started. Can I get started?
Absolutely go for it. What's your question?
Okay, so why is food considered one of the most basic human needs?
That's a really interesting question. I think what you're getting at is why is food always such a central part of our lives? Like one of the first things we think about in any situation. It goes way deeper than just needing to survive. Food carries this huge cultural weight, right? Think about how many celebrations revolve around meals. The whole idea of breaking bread with someone to build trust. Plus, we're really sensory creatures, so food hits all these pleasure centers in our brain: taste, smell, texture. Even just the act of sharing a meal is social bonding. What made you think about this specifically?
Okay, so how does
I'm
food?
sorry, I didn't quite catch. You say that again? I think the connection might have gotten cut out there.
Oh, I didn't say nothing. So, how does food help sustain life biologically?
Right. Biologically speaking, food is the fuel our bodies run on. It breaks down into molecules like carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, which give us energy for everything: moving, thinking, even just staying alive. Those nutrients also build and repair tissues, support our immune system, and help regulate everything from hormones to nerve function. It's basically the raw materials and energy source that keep all our systems working in sync. Different foods offer different combinations of these building blocks too, which is why variety is so important. What specifically got you curious about this angle of food?
It just seemed interesting. So, what nutrients do humans need from food to survive?
Humans need a pretty complex mix to thrive. It's not just calories. You've got your macronutrients, carbs, fats, and proteins, which give you energy. Then there are micronutrients, vitamins, and minerals, which are like the support team for all the body's functions. So things like vitamin C for immunity, calcium for bones, iron for oxygen transport. Water's huge, often overlooked, but we literally can't live without it. We also need fiber for digestion and essential fatty acids our bodies can't make on their own.
So, how did early humans obtain and prepare food?
Early humans were pretty resourceful. For most of our history, we were hunter gatherers, meaning they found food instead of growing it. Hunting animals, fishing, foraging for fruits, nuts, roots, insects. It was all about what was available in their environment. Preparation methods started with simple stuff like eating raw food, but evolved when they discovered fire. Cooking with fire made meat easier to digest, killed bacteria, and unlocked more nutrients from some plants. Fire was honestly game changing.
So, how has access to food changed throughout human history?
That's a huge story. For most of human history, food access was incredibly localized and limited, what you could find or hunt nearby. The big turning point was agriculture around 10,000 years ago. Farming meant people could settle in one place and produce more reliable food sources than hunting and gathering could provide. But even then, access was uneven. Some groups had more fertile land or better technology than others. Then trade routes developed, which expanded food options. It really wasn't until relatively recently, the 20th century, that large scale industrial agriculture made food abundant for a lot of people in developed countries. Now we've got global supply chains where bananas from Ecuador can end up in a store in Idaho. But of course, that abundance isn't evenly shared. Food insecurity and hunger are still major problems in a lot of parts of the world.
Okay, so how does food represent cultural identity?
That's a beautiful question. Food isn't just about sustenance, it's basically woven into the fabric of culture. What people eat, how they prepare it, even how they share it all says so much about their background. Family recipes passed down for generations become traditions, right? Certain dishes become symbols of national pride or regional identity. Holidays and celebrations are usually centered around specific foods. Think of Thanksgiving or Chinese New Year. And then there's the social aspect. Sharing meals builds community and strengthens bonds. So it's way more than just fuel, it's identity, memory, connection.
So, why do different regions develop unique cuisines?
Well, that's a great question. Really, it comes down to three big factors. What ingredients are available locally, like climate and geography dictate what can grow there. Then there's history and migration, cultures interact and spread techniques, trade spices and ingredients. Finally, there's tradition and innovation, cooking methods evolve over time as people experiment and adapt. Think about Indian cuisine. Its heavy use of spices comes from being at the crossroads of trade routes for centuries. Or Mediterranean food. It's all about olive oil and fresh vegetables because that's what grows best there. Each region is basically a unique culinary ecosystem shaped by its environment and history.
So, how do traditions and festivals influence what people eat?
Oh, massively. Traditions and festivals practically dictate what we eat at certain times of the year. They're a huge part of food culture. Think Thanksgiving in the US, turkey, stuffing, pumpkin pie. It's become inseparable from the holiday. Or Lunar New Year in China, specific dishes like dumplings are symbolic and thought to bring good luck. Festivals often have deep historical meaning behind the foods that are eaten, too, like matzah during Passover. These aren't just random choices, they're often tied to agricultural cycles, religious beliefs, or important historical events. So, food becomes a way to celebrate traditions and keep them alive.
So, as you said about the history of the food, so can food tell stories about a society's history? How?
Absolutely. Food is like a delicious history book. The foods people eat or don't eat reveal so much about their past. Take, for instance, corn in the Americas. It's central to so many indigenous cultures' diets, and the way it's grown and prepared reveals farming practices and relationships with the land. Or consider how colonialism brought new foods and disrupted traditional ones. Looking at food trade routes tells us about early interactions between societies. Even something like spices used tells you what was valued and how much power those trade networks held. Food literally captures shifts in technology, migration patterns, or even class structures. It's a window into a culture's entire story.
Okay, so why are family recipes often passed down through generations?
That's a really sweet tradition. I think there are a few layers to it. Obviously, favorite flavors and dishes get tied to memories of childhood or special occasions. Then there's the idea of continuing a family legacy. Your grandmother's recipe connects you to her. But honestly, it's about more than just taste or memory. Passing down recipes can also feel like passing down knowledge, skills, and values. Some of the recipes themselves contain stories, like your grandmother only made that recipe for special events or used a certain ingredient because of a specific experience. It's more than just the how to, it's about sharing part of your cultural identity and keeping those traditions alive.
So, why do people associate food with comfort and memories?
That's such a cozy connection. I think food ties directly to our emotions because it's often linked to early experiences. Like, think about your childhood. What's the first food that comes to mind? And who made it for you? Those positive experiences create neurological pathways. So when you taste that dish later, it triggers the good memories. It's like the smell of your grandma's kitchen. Comfort foods work similarly. Mac and cheese, grilled cheese, they remind us of simpler times when we felt safe and cared for. So basically, food becomes intertwined with emotions and memories in our brains over time.
So, how does sharing food strengthen relationships?
Yeah, that's such a fundamental thing. Sharing food is just intrinsically social, you know? It's one of the earliest ways humans bonded, like back when we were hunter gatherers, sharing a kill meant survival, but it also built trust and cooperation. Then, as civilization grew, it became about connection and community. Breaking bread with someone meant showing hospitality, making them feel welcome. Now, just think about how many friendships and relationships form over meals, dates, potlucks, family dinners. It creates this atmosphere of sharing, connection, and warmth. Even offering someone food when they're down is like showing care without saying anything.
Okay, so what role does food play in celebrations and social gatherings?
Um, Food pretty much IS celebrations and social gatherings, honestly. Think about any holiday or big event. What's the first thing you plan? The menu. It's like food acts as this centerpiece for bringing people together. It breaks down barriers, everyone can relate to sharing a meal. It creates something communal to focus on. Some foods themselves are symbolic, like wedding cake, symbolizing good luck, or certain dishes being considered festive for certain events. But really, it's just the communal aspect of everyone enjoying food together that really makes these events memorable.
So, why do certain foods symbols of home or belonging?
Ah, that's such a moving thought. Those particular foods become anchors to our identity and roots. Often it's the dishes from our childhoods or what our families always made. They become associated with security, love, and a sense of belonging. If you grew up eating tamales during the holidays with family, that smell, that taste immediately transports you back home, even if you're far away. They can also be reminders of a specific cultural heritage, that one dish your grandmother used to make that connected you to ancestors. So essentially, those foods become symbolic representations of where you come from and your place within your family or community.
Okay, so how does food influence social status or lifestyle?
It's really interesting to think about. Food actually plays a role in signaling social status in a lot of ways. Think about the fine dining world. Expensive ingredients, skilled chefs, and whole rituals around service all speak to a certain level of wealth and taste. The types of food you regularly eat can also signify lifestyle choices. If you're prioritizing organic produce or buying from farmers markets, that signals values like health, sustainability, or support for local businesses. In some cultures, what you can afford to eat is a clear marker of economic status or what you're supposed to eat to fit in a certain social circle. It's kind of subtle, but very real.
How has globalization changed eating habits?
It's dramatically changed them. Globalization has basically made food cultures mix and mingle in ways never before possible. You can get sushi in Montana or tacos in Sweden now. It's expanded our access to new cuisines, flavors, and ingredients, which can be great for exploration and creativity. But at the same time, some traditional ways of eating are getting lost as people adopt more globalized habits. Think fast food culture spreading around the world. Then there's the question of food miles, environmental impact, and whether certain communities feel pressured to modernize their food traditions. It's a really complex mix, exciting access with some cultural homogenization too.
Okay, so what um, how do social media platforms influence food trends?
Social media has become massive for food trends. Seriously, it's incredible. A dish can blow up overnight on TikTok or Instagram, turning into a viral sensation everyone needs to try. Influencers play a huge role in shaping what's considered cool or desirable. Then you have things like food photography and aesthetically pleasing arrangements becoming almost as important as the taste of the food itself. It's not just restaurants or chefs driving trends anymore, it's everyday people sharing their creations. The downside is trends can be really fleeting, and there's pressure to create visually appealing food rather than focus on quality or tradition. But it does create really interesting cross cultural food exchange and experimentation too.
So, what impact has fast food culture had on health and society?
That's a big one. It's had some pretty significant impacts. Fast food's convenience and affordability made it accessible to a lot of people, but it's also contributed to rising rates of obesity, diabetes, and heart disease because of calorie content, processed ingredients, and lack of nutritional value. It changed our eating habits too. Larger portions, eating on the go, less emphasis on home cooked meals. Socially, it's created a culture of convenience and speed, potentially disconnecting us from the process of actually making food. Fast food marketing also disproportionately targets vulnerable communities, exacerbating health disparities. There's been some pushback. Healthier options are becoming more common, but the impact on public health is still a huge concern.
Why has food presentation become important today?
That's such a good question. We're basically eating with our eyes first now. It really took off with social media, where food photos are huge. People want something Instagrammable, right? But even before that, fine dining started emphasizing presentation as part of the overall experience. It's about artistry, creativity, and making food more appealing on a sensory level. If something looks beautiful, we assume it'll taste better, even if it doesn't. It's kind of funny when you think about it.
How did
But
advertising
presentation shows thoughtfulness and respect for ingredients or customers. It's like the chef or cook is telling you the food is worth experiencing on every level: taste, smell, sight. Is that what you meant with your question?
Yeah. So, how
Hmm.
do advertising and branding shape food choices?
Advertising and branding are honestly super powerful drivers of what we eat. Companies pour billions into it. Effective marketing isn't just about telling you what's in the food, but creating associations, making you feel certain emotions, associating the product with fun, happiness, success. The way food is presented in ads, healthy looking people enjoying it, perfectly lit meals, relatable storylines, all these build desire. And branding shapes how we perceive quality or health benefits, even if they're not actually there. Ads can make something seem fancy or healthier than it actually is, or convince you that you need it when you don't. We're constantly being told what to want and what's worth buying. It's pretty much everywhere we look.
Okay, so what are the environmental impacts of food production?
That's a really heavy topic, but a really important one. Food production has a massive environmental footprint. Think about deforestation to make room for farmland, especially for animal agriculture. Then there's water usage, pesticide and fertilizer runoff polluting waterways, and greenhouse gas emissions from transporting food long distances and raising livestock. Industrial agriculture practices can degrade soil quality too. Some foods have a bigger impact than others. Meat and dairy, especially, contribute a lot to emissions. Food waste also plays a huge role. When food rots in landfills, it creates methane. We're basically impacting every part of the ecosystem with how we produce food.
So, how can sustainable eating help the planet?
It's honestly one of the most impactful things we can do. Sustainable eating is all about minimizing those environmental harms we just talked about. That means things like eating less meat and dairy, particularly beef, because they require so many resources. Choosing seasonal and local produce cuts down on transportation emissions, reducing food waste, buying organic when possible, and supporting farms that use eco friendly practices. Basically, making choices that are good for both our bodies and the planet, prioritizing biodiversity and reducing overall impact. Little things add up.
Okay, so thank you so much for answering my questions. Bye.
Of course. Happy to chat about all things food with you. Sounds like you're really thinking deeply about it all. Bye for now.